Somewhere in the world, right now, a screen is glowing in a dark room. Numbers climbing, numbers falling. Green, then red, then green again. To most people, it looks like noise. But every one of those numbers is an argument about what something is worth, and about who gets to decide. Here is the strange part. You use money almost every day of your life. You work for it, you worry about it, you count it before you fall asleep. And yet, if someone stopped you on the street and asked, what actually is money? Could you answer? Who invented it? Why does a printed rectangle of paper buy you bread, while a napkin of the same size buys you nothing? Why is one country's money strong and another's weak? Why, after 5,000 years of progress, do we still trust a soft yellow metal we dug out of the ground? And how on earth did we get from a farmer trading a goat to a market that moves trillions of dollars before breakfast? Don't answer yet, just hold the questions. Because the road from that goat to that screen is one of the greatest stories our species has ever told. And it starts long before banks, long before coins. It starts with two people, standing in the dirt, trying to be fair to each other. That is where we begin. Picture a valley 10,000 years ago. Smoke from a cooking fire, maybe 40 people. Everyone knows everyone. In a world that small, you don't need money, you need memory. Your neighbor helps you raise a roof. You help him bring in his harvest. Nobody writes anything down. Nobody hands over a coin. The whole village is running on something older and warmer than currency: obligation. I did this for you. One day you'll do something for me. Anthropologists who study early communities often find exactly this. Not tidy shopkeepers making change, just favors, gifts, debts, and long human memory. A kind of invisible ledger kept in people's heads. And it works beautifully, as long as the circle stays small. As long as I know your name. As long as I'll see you tomorrow and the day after, and at your daughter's wedding. But people don't stay in valleys. They walk, they trade, they meet strangers. And a stranger is a problem, because a stranger owes you nothing. A stranger might never come back. So what happens the first time you need something from someone you will never see again? Before money, trust was personal. It had a face, a name, a memory. The moment humanity outgrew that circle, we needed something new to carry the trust for us. The first answer was the simplest one imaginable. If you want what I have, and I want what you have, let's just swap. That's barter. Goods for goods. Wheat for a goat. Fish for firewood. Pots for cloth. And for a long time, in the right conditions, it worked. Two farmers meeting at the edge of a field. A traveller with salt walking into a village that has none. Traders on a riverbank laying out their goods on a blanket, watching each other's eyes. There's something honest about it. Nothing abstract, nothing hidden. You hold the thing you're getting. You feel the weight of it. You know precisely what you're giving up. Barter also taught humanity its very first economics lesson, without a single classroom. Value is not a fixed number written on a tag. Value depends on who wants what, and how badly, and right now. A jar of water in a village by the river is almost worthless. That same jar, 3 days into the desert, could cost you everything you own. So the world's first price was not calculated, it was negotiated. Two people standing in the sun, arguing their way toward a number that neither of them could name yet.
Barter gave us direct, tangible, face-to-face exchange. But it carried a flaw hidden inside it, and the bigger the world got, the more that flaw began to hurt.
Here's the flaw. You have wheat. You want shoes. So you find the shoemaker. And the shoemaker says, "I don't need wheat." That single sentence is one of the most important sentences in the history of the human race. Economists gave it a heavy name: the double coincidence of wants. Strip the jargon away and it just means this: for barter to work, I must want exactly what you have at exactly the moment you want exactly what I have. Two wants meeting by pure coincidence, and most days they don't. So you go looking. Maybe the shoemaker needs leather, so you find the tanner, who needs a knife. So you find the blacksmith, who needs wheat. 4 people, a whole day of walking just to buy one pair of shoes. And that is only the first problem. Try making change. You own 1 cow. You want a chicken. What exactly do you do? Cut the cow into 8 pieces and hand over an ear? Half a cow is not worth half of a cow. It's worth almost nothing, because a dead cow stops being a cow. Then there's time. Wheat rots. Fish spoils in a day. Fruit turns. So the farmer who has a spectacular harvest cannot save that wealth. Wealth that rots is not really wealth at all. And finally, storage. Try carrying your life savings to the next town when your life savings weigh 400 kilos and have opinions about where they'd like to walk. Barter had 4 wounds: finding a match, splitting value, storing it over time, and moving it. Humanity needed a thing that solved all 4 at once. Nobody sat down and invented the solution. There was no committee, no genius in a tower. Instead, quietly, in 1,000 different places, people started reaching for the same trick. They began accepting things they didn't personally want. Think about how odd that is. A trader takes a sack of barley, not because he's hungry, but because he knows the man in the next village will take barley from him. He is not buying food, he is buying certainty. The moment humans start accepting goods purely to trade them onward, money has been born. Not designed, discovered. And you can see it in what different cultures chose. In ancient Mesopotamia, barley, measured by weight, became the standard for wages and debts. Across parts of Africa and Asia, cowrie shells. Small, hard to fake, and beautiful. In the Pacific and beyond, salt was so valuable it moved in caravans under guard. That's not decoration. Salt preserved food, and preserved food meant surviving winter. Cattle worked too, which is why our word for money hides inside the Latin word for cattle. The language remembers what we forgot. Each of these was a step forward. Each one still had a weakness. Barley rots. Shells can be found in fresh quantities. Cattle need feeding. The species was now searching, without knowing it was searching, for one substance that would not rot, could not be faked easily, and could be split without being destroyed. We had learned to accept a thing we didn't want in order to get the thing we did. Now we needed the right thing, and the answer was already in the ground. Gold is, in practical terms, useless. You cannot eat it, you cannot build a house out of it. It's too soft for a blade. A caveman handed a lump of gold and a lump of flint would take the flint every time. So why did nearly every civilization on Earth separated by oceans, with no contact, no shared language, no shared gods, independently fall in love with the same metal. Because gold has a very particular set of properties, and they happen to be exactly the properties money needs. It doesn't rust. Pull a gold coin from a shipwreck after 2,000 years under salt water, and it comes up gleaming. Iron would be dust. Gold is memory that doesn't fade. It's rare, but not impossible. If it were common, it would be worthless. If it were unfindable, it couldn't circulate. It's soft enough to cut and melt, so you can divide it into any size you like, and then melt those pieces back into one without losing a gram. Cut a cow in half and you've destroyed it. Cut gold in half and you have 2 golds. And it's dense. A fortune in gold fits in a pouch on your belt. Wealth you can walk with. And yes, it shines. It catches firelight like nothing else in the earth. Humans are not machines. We chose the beautiful one. Gold solved rot, splitting, storage and transport in a single yellow answer. It didn't become precious because it was useful. It became useful because it was precious. But raw gold still had a catch. If I hand you a lump, you have to ask 2 questions. How pure is this? And how heavy? So every deal needed scales, testing, and suspicion. Trade slowed to the speed of doubt. Then, around 2,500 years ago, in the kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Turkey, someone had an idea that changed everything. They took a small piece of metal. They fixed the weight. They fixed the purity, and they stamped it with the mark of the king. That stamp is one of the great inventions of civilization. It's not decoration, it's a promise. It says, an authority has already weighed this, already tested this, and stakes its name on it. Suddenly you don't need scales. You don't need to trust the stranger in front of you. You only need to trust the stamp. Coins spread like fire. Greece, Persia, Rome, India, China developed its own traditions in parallel. Within a few centuries, most of the trading world was counting instead of weighing. And notice what has quietly happened. Value has moved. It used to live inside the goods themselves. Now part of it lives inside a symbol, a face, an emblem, an idea. Every empire that followed understood the power in that stamp. Some of them, when times got hard, quietly mixed cheaper metal into their coins and hoped nobody would notice. People noticed. They always notice. With coinage, trade stopped being an argument about weight and became a simple act of counting. Money now carried a guarantee, and guarantees, once created, need somewhere safe to live. Now you have a new problem. And it's a wonderful problem to have. You are rich, and gold is heavy, and thieves exist. So where do you put it? You look around your city for the person with the strongest door, and in 17th century London, that person was the goldsmith. He worked in gold, so he already owned a serious vault. So merchants began leaving their gold with him, and he gave them a piece of paper, a receipt. It said, in effect, the bearer of this note may collect a set weight of gold from me on demand. And then something remarkable happened, almost by accident. A merchant needed to pay a supplier. Rather than walk to the vault, collect the gold, carry it across town and hand it over, he simply handed over the receipt, and the supplier accepted it. Why walk to the vault? The paper is lighter. The paper is safer. The paper is as good as gold, so long as everybody believes the vault is real. Paper had begun to circulate as money, while the gold sat perfectly still. Then came the second discovery. The goldsmiths noticed that on any given day, only a small fraction of depositors actually came to collect. Most of the gold just sat there. So they began lending some of it out at interest. That decision built the modern banking system and every one of its triumphs and its crises, because it works beautifully, right up until everybody wants their gold on the same morning. Banks turn stored wealth into moving wealth. But that trick only holds while confidence holds. And confidence, it turns out, is the most fragile asset of all. The Europeans were not first, not even close. Centuries earlier, in China, merchants under the Song dynasty were already trading paper notes rather than dragging strings of heavy copper coins across the country. The state took the idea, refined it, and issued paper currency backed by its own authority. When Marco Polo travelled east and came home describing an emperor whose subjects happily exchanged real goods for pieces of printed mulberry bark, Europe thought he was lying. It sounded like alchemy, turning paper into wealth. But of course, that's not what was happening. The paper was never the wealth. The paper was the message. And here, China also taught the world the second half of the lesson. Because when a government discovers it can print value, the temptation is enormous. Print more notes than the economy can support, and prices climb, and the note in your pocket quietly buys less bread every month. Every society that has printed carelessly has learned the same painful truth. Money is a promise. Make too many promises, and each one is believed a little less. So paper money is a fascinating bargain, convenient beyond anything gold could offer, weightless, instant, and utterly dependent on the honesty of whoever holds the press. Which raises the obvious question. If notes are promises, who guards the promise? Who stands behind the paper when the whole nation is holding it? Paper freed money from weight and handed us extraordinary convenience. But it moved the entire system onto a foundation of trust. That foundation would need a keeper. The keeper arrived in the 17th century. Sweden's Riksbank came first in 1668. Then, in 1694, the Bank of England, founded for a very unromantic reason. The government needed money to fight a war and could not raise it fast enough. But once it existed, it began doing something historic. One institution standing behind the currency of a whole nation. Think about what a central bank actually is. It is not really a building full of money. It is a promise machine. Its job is to make one nation's paper believable at home and abroad. It holds reserves. It sets the interest rate, which is simply the price of borrowing. And by moving that price, it can gently speed the economy up or cool it down. It acts as the lender of last resort, the one door that stays open when every other door in a panic is closing. And crucially, it controls how much new money enters the world. That is enormous power, and it comes with an enormous responsibility, because it is aimed at one target: keeping the value of your money reasonably steady, so that the wage you earn this year still means something next year. When a central bank does its job well, you never think about it. That is the entire point. Boring is the goal. With central banks, money stopped being a private arrangement and became a public institution. Nations now had their own currencies, their own guardians, and their own reputations to defend. By the 20th century, the map of the world was also a map of money. The pound, the franc, the dollar, the yen, each with a border, each with a central bank, each with a story. And here is where it gets interesting for anybody who has ever glanced at a currency chart. Because the moment there are many currencies, a question appears that nobody can avoid. How many of yours for one of mine? For a long time, gold answered it. If your pound was defined as a fixed weight of gold, and my dollar was defined as a fixed weight of gold, then the rate between us was simple arithmetic. That was the gold standard. Stable, elegant, and very rigid. Then came 2 world wars, and the arithmetic broke. Wars are expensive. Nations printed. The link to gold was stretched, suspended, and stretched again. So in 1944, with the war still running, delegates from 44 nations gathered in a hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to design something calmer. The result, the US dollar would be tied to gold at $35 an ounce, and the world's other major currencies would be tied to the dollar. One anchor and everyone else roped to it. It gave the post-war world decades of stability, but it also meant that the rate between currencies was decided in rooms by governments, not in markets. Currencies had become national identities with fixed relationships, order imposed from above, and the moment that anchor slipped, everything we now call Forex would come rushing in. The anchor slipped in 1971. By then, the United States had far more dollars circulating in the world than it had gold sitting in its vaults. Other nations began quietly asking to trade their dollars back for the metal, and the arithmetic no longer worked. So, in August 1971, President Nixon announced that the dollar would no longer be convertible to gold. Read that again slowly. After thousands of years, the world's money quietly let go of the thing in the ground. By 1973, the major currencies were floating. And floating means exactly what it sounds like. No fixed rate, no committee. The value of one nation's money against another's would now be decided minute by minute by everyone who wanted to buy or sell it. That is the Forex market, foreign exchange, the place where currencies are priced against each other continuously. It has no building. It has no bell to open. It runs across banks and institutions and screens, following the sun from Sydney to Tokyo to London to New York, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. Trillions of dollars move through it daily, which makes it the largest market on this planet by a very wide margin. And what is it actually pricing? Not paper. It is pricing confidence. In a nation's economy, its central bank, its stability, its future. Forex was not really invented in 1971. It was released. The question of what your money is worth compared to mine had finally been handed to the whole world at once. So step back and look at the road we've walked. A village where trust had a face. A field where a farmer swapped wheat for a goat. A shoemaker saying no. A shell, a sack of barley, a lump of salt. A stamped coin in Lydia. A goldsmith's receipt in London, a note of mulberry bark in China, a hotel in New Hampshire, a screen in the dark, blinking green and red. Every single step was humans solving the same problem. How do I trade with someone I cannot fully trust, and both of us walk away fair? That is what money is, not metal, not paper, not the number in your banking app. Money is an agreement, a shared story that enough of us believe at the same time. It has changed shape roughly every 1,000 years, and every time the shape got lighter, faster, and more abstract. Forex is not a strange modern invention sitting outside that history. Forex is the newest page of it. When you look at a currency pair, you are looking at the oldest human question there is, asked at the speed of light. What is this worth, and who decides? You now know the shape of the whole journey. Next, we go back to the beginning and stand inside it. Back to the fields, the failed trades, the frustration. Back to the moment our species stumbled onto the most powerful idea it ever had, without meaning to at all. That's your next lesson. Barter and gold. How humanity accidentally invented money. We'll see you there.